Right, Brian, we're back. We're online. Last Google Hangout of this particular Decoding digital session, and it's going to be all up to you today.
Yeah, well, the program's gone very, very quickly, Fergal. 4 weeks definitely flies, and we've covered a lot, and not too much time to get too sentimental, Fergal, because we've got lots and lots to get through today as well.
That's right. So I know we're going to get hands-on. You're going to show us the practicalities and the real practicalities of using analytics, Ryan. But I just thought for a couple of minutes we might do just a bit of a recap over what we've covered, just for the benefit of everybody, I guess. So in the context of Ozcrafters, I guess is our fictional business, what we went through with them was first week was all about a digital strategy and helping define a digital strategy. And I guess that kind of feeds into today in terms of analytics, you know, setting your goals and your objectives. And really when we look at analytics, that's what we want to measure, and we want to make sure that what we're measuring with our analytics feeds directly back into the business strategy and the digital strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about that on Tuesday, Fergal, how what we're going to be doing in analytics should tie back to everything we've done over the last 3 weeks. You know, we'll always have more data than we need, so it's about picking out the things we want to measure and then finding the data that helps us do that. So tying back to week 1, we need to be, you know, thinking about there's our objectives, how we're going to measure them. Week 2 with the website, we can, you know, really measure the effectiveness of our design, of our website.
And I think on that as well, for people who are watching and are thinking about going and doing a design and an implementation, you're never finished. Your implementation is not finished until you've got your analytics set up on your website and your webmaster tools. And it's something that you know, is often forgotten about. I guess it's important to have your analytics and your webmaster tools on there from day one.
Yep, and we're actually going to go today and put some analytics. We're going to create an account for analytics and then put the code on the site, and we're going to set a few things up as well. And we will caution Fergal as well that if we were going to be doing this in the real world, then we wouldn't be doing it in half-hour webinar. We would definitely be doing it more slowly, thoroughly, and doing more testing and checking at each stage along the way. But the idea of today is just do it in fast forward, I guess, so that you can get a feel for how it all works.
So that's just Ryan's subtle dig at me, because I've forced him to try and do an awful lot in half an hour, I guess. So we'll see how well he goes, but I'm sure it'll be great. The other thing we looked at was marketing strategy. So we'll certainly look at how we would measure your marketing. And certainly from our point of view, we look at our social media stuff and our email newsletters, I guess, as well as probably the 2 key things we look at.
Yeah, and as anyone who sat in on week 3 would have seen, with your SEO and your social media and your content, it can be as much an art as it is a science. So it becomes even more important to do really regular checking on that with your analytics, you know, almost real-time reporting to get a constant feel of what people are enjoying and what they're not, and what's working and what's not, because it's one of those things you really have to improve constantly as you go over time. You can't get away with checking it once every 6 months.
I know I haven't asked you this question in prep, Brian, but some of the clients that we work with, any criteria that you see of the businesses that are getting most value from analytics and doing it the best? What do they do on a regular basis that makes them stand out? I guess they get more value from analytics.
Absolutely. I think the organisations we work with that are, you know, really getting a lot of value out of it, for starters, either have an internal champion that's really driving it, or they have someone external that's helping them drive it. And they're very clear on what their online objectives are and what they're setting out. So some of them will be working really intensively on their social media or their content plans, their content strategies. Others of them are trying to get insights into which services or products are really working well for them.
And they'll be driving either more inquiries, or they're trying to build their awareness online in terms of SEO, etc.
Exactly. So I guess as a product of what they're doing when they're sitting down looking at analytics, is they're having real regular meetings where they sit down and look at the consequences. We discuss them and go, okay, what are we going to do in the next 30 days to actually act on this information? What needs to happen? What content do we need to write? Do we need to reassess some of our SEO strategies? Do we need to be, you know, reassessing whether this social media network is really of value to us, or should we actually be over here? So always that cycle we looked at on Tuesday, always thinking about that cycle, going through the measurement process, the insights, and then, okay, what's the next step? How do we action this? And then continuing that measurement. So it's really about actually facilitating the time and resources to have that ongoing process.
And I think making it part of your everyday marketing activity. It's not something that's nice to have. It's something that has to be done regularly.
Yep.
Okay. we are 5 minutes in, so I've taken up 5 minutes of your precious time in terms of showing us analytics. So let's dive in, Ryan. While you're doing that, anyone who hasn't sent us a tweet and asked us a question, today's your last opportunity, so we'd encourage you to do that. The hashtag is DigitalVic. I'm watching it here on the other screen as Ryan's working with you guys on the shared screen. So please don't be shy to ask, and we'll endeavour to, as usual, to try and answer the questions as best we can.
Okay, so I've got plenty to get through in 25 minutes. We'll try not to run too over time. As a bit of an overview of what I'm going to cover today, I'm going to show you how to create an analytics account, how to add the tracking code to your website, and then we're going to set up a goal. If we have time, we'll show you how to campaign tag a blog if you're going to share it on social media. And then I want to quickly show you Hotjar, the other tool that we talked about on Tuesday that we haven't looked at yet. So lots to get through. First thing you're going to have to do is create a Google account if you don't have one already. So once you've got any Gmail accounts or Google accounts set up, you'll already be able to log into Google Analytics, which you can get to just by going to google.com/analytics or just Google searching it. And I'm in the admin panel here, and we manage a whole bunch of accounts from our account here. But to create a new account, I'm just going to go create new accounts down here. If you don't have any accounts, it'll look much simpler for you. First choice you'll be faced with is to choose between a website and a mobile app. I assume most of you will be putting this on your website, so we'll go with that. And we'll do today, and we're doing this for Ozcrafters, so I'll do everything in the context of Ozcrafters. I'm going to give it an account name.
Just while you're doing that, Ryan, there is a Google Analytics mobile app that's available for people, just so they know. I certainly use it to look at the stats. When I've got a bit of free time or I'm commuting or whatever, and that's quite useful. So for those of you that we haven't mentioned it before, so you can download the app. It's free to download, so you can get your stats on your mobile phone.
Absolutely. With the website URL, really important you get this correct. It's just your homepage URL. But if you don't have the correct URL in here, then your analytics won't work properly. So important you get that right. And
you can go www or just Ozcrafters.
Definitely put in your www, so the full URL. Okay. If you really want to be safe, go to your homepage and then copy and paste the URL in. It's probably your best way to go about it. Industry category, Google will use this to give you benchmarks to compare data against other people in similar industries to you and how their website's performing. So, there's some settings below here about whether you want to share your data with Google. It's all anonymous, so there's really no harm in doing it. And it helps contribute to giving you better information where you can compare yourself against other people in your industry. So for Ozcrafters, I might choose home and garden. You want to put yourself on the Australian time zone, unless you are based somewhere else. So we'll choose Melbourne's time zone here. And I'm going to allow Google to use my data for the following reasons, but have a read through those and you can make a personal decision. And then we just click Get Tracking ID. And it's going to ask us to agree to a user agreement. Once again, your own discretion on accepting those and reading those terms and conditions.
Oh yeah, I know we were asked questions about data and security, but if it's on the web, Google are certainly looking at our data. How they're using it, we don't exactly know. So we won't make any big statements on data.
So as soon as we've created the account, it already exists here, and we're given a tracking ID, which is our, the tracking ID for our accounts, and we've already got our piece of JavaScript here that's been created for us, and this is the script that goes onto our website. So that's what we need to implement the website. I'll come back to that briefly. So if we go into the admin panel here, we can see we've got 3 sections: accounts, property, and view, and these are really, really important. The account is our overall account that we use to log into. It manages everything in our analytics for Ozcrafters. Properties might be different web elements you have for the same company or the same business or brand. So if you had 2 completely separate websites within your business, or if you had a website and a mobile app, for example, and I will note that tracking mobile apps is different to websites, then you might have multiple properties. But in the majority of cases for ourselves and also for most businesses, I imagine would be in the program, you're just going to have one property.
But this is important if you've got multiple sites, because we have seen clients get mixed up before with between accounts, properties, etc. And so getting this right, structuring how you're going to collect this data is important.
So if you had two different websites, but they were for the same business, but for different purposes, and they're separate domains, you might create two properties and you'll have two different tracking codes. Otherwise, if you merge the two tracking codes, or if you have the same tracking code for each site, you're going to find it hard to differentiate which one's which when you look at your data. And then you have views. So views are different ways of looking at data within the same property, so for the same website. So I'll create a new view in a second, Virgil. And the reason we do this is this view here, all website data, I always say to keep one view completely clean. Let's not change any of the settings or any of the configurations on it. So if anything ever goes wrong with one of our views in the future, we've got a clean skin view of data that hasn't been touched and we can't bugger it up, more or less.
Okay. So some of the things like the views would be taking out users from a specific location, taking out internal users. Would that be correct?
Yeah, you can exclude users by IP address, things like this. But when we set up things like goals as well, which we're going to do today, that still adds different elements to our reports, and it still changes our data in some ways. So I like to do all this into at least one configured view. So what I might do now is go and create new view. And once again, it's for a website, and I'm going to call it configured view. And this is because I'm just going to make some changes and configurations to this view. And I just want to leave one completely clean master copy of our data. And if anyone does go down the path of doing their Google certification, that's one thing they'll tell you to do as well. So that's a recommendation from Google, and a very wise one. Okay, so we've now got our configured view, we've got our property, and we've got our account, and that's all created. We saw our tracking code before, and if you're not ready to put your tracking code on straight away, which I wasn't, you can always go back and find your tracking code under your property, and then tracking info and tracking code. So we're back to that same page we're on before. So we're going to actually now go and put the script onto the website. Depending which CMS you're using and how your website's built on your templates and all these things, Fergal, you know, how you go about actually putting this onto your site may vary. Of course. But where it needs to be on the website is always the same. Yep. So we've created a content holder that's going to put this across all the pages in our site, because I don't have too much time to run through the details of that today.
And bear in mind, most people, if they're working with a developer, you know, in your brief, you should have, you should have an objective in there, or a task in there to set up analytics correctly, and they will do this for you.
And straight away, we've already created an error there. So this is why we're playing with fire today. I might just be because I've copied and pasted that incorrectly. And this comes back to what I said earlier about making sure you have time to test this stuff.
So put it in as the HTML.
Yeah. And Virgil's on the ball today. So this stuff should sit in the back end of your website. You shouldn't notice any actual aesthetic change to the homepage of your site.
Yeah.
So if you want to check whether your site does have analytics or someone else's does, if we go view page source, I'll still Control F for Google, we can see that our Google Analytics script is sitting in the code here, and it should always be right at the end of your header. So your header is signified by these brackets with the head code, which opens without the / up here and ends with the /. And we should always have the Google Analytics code sitting at the end of our header. The reason you want to do this is because as the page loads, it'll make sure that the Google Analytics code is fired early on as the page loads from the top to the bottom. Otherwise, we risk if someone moves on quickly, we don't actually fire the code quickly enough.
Okay. This is quite important, Ryan. I've just, having worked with a lot of, I guess, smaller businesses over the years, a lot of them actually don't realize that they already have Google Analytics on their website. Yep. So if you're not sure, go and find, you might be able to see this code. There'll be some really important insights in there for you before you go and redesign your new website. So if you're not sure, certainly check out and see whether there's an old analytics account that's somewhere in your organization, because there'll be good clues in there as to how you can improve the site.
So now that we've got the code on our website, I'll show you how to check that it's actually working. So these tabs on the top here, we've been in the admin so far, but we can go into reporting, and this is where all our reports sit. And as I mentioned on Tuesday, it does take up to 24 hours for the data to show up in your report. So if we look in here right now, we're sitting in all zeros.
Yeah.
But we do have real-time reports, and this allows you to show what's happening on your site right now, but it just won't go through to your actual reports for a while. So we can see that right now it's registering one user on the site, and we can see that that's on the home page. That user is actually us. So straight away we know that on the home page right now our analytics is working, and hopefully what we've done there is translated the code through the whole site. So if I
we use this live, you know, the real-time stuff is quite useful if you're sending out things like an email newsletter and you want to watch it. You know, when it goes out, you can actually see people connecting in and logging onto that landing page.
Absolutely. So real-time reports can be great for testing, as well as if you are putting out a campaign and you want to see how people are interacting with it in real time. So I've moved to the About page there, and I can see that it's registered. Yep, we're now on a different page on the site. So we'll normally do some more thorough testing in this, but you know, do test it with your real-time reports. So we can see that it seems to be working. So next in our absolute sprint of a session, Fergal, I'm going to show you how to set up some goals.
Right.
So if you recall, Tuesday goals help us measure the objectives we have on our website, both the macro objectives, so the end goals, which for Ozcrafters is likely to be to purchase our products, but also the micro goals, so the steps along the way. So
yeah, so it's like a funnel really on your website. You can see, you know, how people are tracking through your website to get to that end goal. Would that be correct?
Yeah, we can get that. You can get that advanced. So certainly with a product, you would look at the different stages towards purchasing.
Yeah.
But for the sake of time today, I'm just going to have a look at a simple goal, but can also show you where we can add in funnels. So back in our admin view, under the view, we add in goals, and goals are done on a view level. So making sure that we're putting this in our configured view, not our all website data view. That's our nice clean version. And we're taken to this panel where we can create different kinds of goals. So I'm going to go new goal, and they've got templates for some different kinds of goals here. I just like to go through the custom and do it the old fashioned way, where it's given us the 4 different types of goals we can create.
Right.
Now, today we'll look at destination goals, which uses a URL destination to determine the completion of a goal. But we can also choose things like duration, which let's just say, wait, if someone viewed this for X minutes or more, or also pages per session. So, you know, a goal might be when someone views 5 or more pages on our website.
So we certainly use the duration to make sure people, if you know, we're not fooling ourselves with our blogs. You know, we know that it'll take them a couple of minutes to read a blog. So the goal is completed if they spend, say, a minute or 2 minutes on the particular page.
Yeah. But once again, like I said on Tuesday, we should be careful with things like pages per session, that we don't confuse always having more pages per session being a better outcome. We don't want people to have to search too far to find the content they're looking for. So there's always a balance. So today we're just going to look at the destination goal. And first we'll give it a name. So I'm going to call this newsletter sign up. And the purpose of this goal is to measure how many people coming to our site are actually signing up for our newsletter.
Right.
Next step. Now, destination equals to, this talks about the URL that the person ends up on when they finish the goal. So on the Ozcrafters website, we have our newsletter sign up form. And if I'm a user, I come and I sign up. Then I click join. And then it takes me through to this success page. It says, thank you, you've signed up to the newsletter. And the only way someone can get to this page is by completing that process. So I know that this URL actually signifies the completion of the newsletter sign up. And we just want the bit that comes after the main domain there. So including and after the /. So I'll copy and paste that into my goals. Now, if it does so happen that you had a range of URLs that signified completion, you could also go begins with and just choose the common part of the URL. But I think something like a newsletter, quite often you would have just the one URL structure. and you can choose for that to be case sensitive if you like to. You can assign a monetary value. That depends, how sophisticated you want to get. And if we want to, Fergal was talking about funnels. So you can turn on the funnel function and add extra steps along the way. So if this is in the context of a purchase completion, there might be 3 or 4 screens they go through on the way to completing the purchase. So they might look at the product, then add it to their cart, go to their cart, go through the payment process, and then complete. So we might want to track if people are dropping off at a certain point along that way, and we can visualize that as a funnel. So you can go and add steps in here and have an actual, what we call a goal funnel. But once again, today we're just going to create a simple one, and you can also verify how many times this may have. Let's turn the funnel back up. You can verify how many times this goal would have been completed in the last. I think it's in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
But we just actually put our analytics on today, so it's not going to be able to trace it back.
Of course.
But if this was a week down the track, it would tell us how many times of this goal been completed in the last week, which helps us verify that we've set it up correctly as well.
And bear in mind, you shouldn't have too many goals for small business on a website. You're better off tracking 2 or 3 major ones, because you've got to go and look at all this stuff and interpret it, I guess, to a certain degree.
Yep, absolutely. So pick the right ones, and you can turn them off. So if they're not working for you, you can turn them off. You can't delete them, but you can go in and change them. So if it's not working for you, turn it off. And then if you have something you want to put in later, just replace the goal. So that's what we need to set up a goal. And then as a reminder, from Tuesday, once you actually have the goals being completed and you're recording, in your reports, these will start appearing under goals in the conversions section. So that's where you'll be able to find all the data around your goals, and they'll also appear in other parts of your reports as well. So you'll see them show up, for example, in other reports where you've got your tables, and then it'll actually have conversions over here on the table telling you how many people that came from Google signed up for a newsletter. So it starts integrating into our other reports as well.
Pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah. So,
or you just make it look really easy, Ryan.
No, well, I think there's no one here who won't be able to set up a goal on that level. Moving quickly, I'm going to show you, we talked on Tuesday about campaign tagging.
Yeah.
If you want to
really important, I think, if you're using social media, that you start looking at your campaigns and what's working and what's not working. So absolutely. So
I'm actually jump back into our data, Fergal, so people can have a quick reminder on what it looks like. And as we can see, we've got plenty of accounts in here. Okay. I was a bit quick on the buzzer there.
Oh, website data.
It's not one. Okay.
So we've got that one there for no internal traffic, Ryan. That obviously doesn't show our IP address in here, and we get a better. We're not fooling ourselves that us logging in is part of the traffic to the website.
Yeah, well, we get a little bit narcissistic sometimes, Fergal, and just like to look at what we're doing ourselves. So you have to cut out all that traffic. I know you're looking at your profile quite often, so your great picture. So we want to drill down to like a sort of a slightly more detailed level of our campaigns that we put out on social media. So we can actually go in and see, all right, we've shared this blog out on social media. We had this much traffic come in from different social networks, and we also drill it down to a level of, was that shared by personal accounts or was it shared by our company account? So to do that, we actually go and create a manual URL ourselves where we add in small variables. So looking at Ozcrafters, we have a blog in here, and let's say that we're going to share this blog out on social media. So I'm going to take the original URL of that blog, and I'll go to the Google URL Builder. This is a tool you can access for free. Just Google URL Builder, and you'll be taken through to this page, and it sort of creates the URL for us. So we paste the original URL in.
Just as you're doing that, Ryan, we've had a tweet come through from Tim Gentle, who's just said he's enjoyed participating. So I just thought I'd read it out because it's our first tweet today. So thanks, Tim. Hopefully you're listening today as well.
Thanks, Tim. So then we'll be asked for a campaign source. So this is the social network or the channel you'll be you'll be putting it out on. So you'll have to create a few of these if you're going to be putting it on multiple social networks. So let's say we're going to be sharing this on Twitter. My source will be Twitter. My medium will be the default channel group. So in this case, it would be social. And then campaign term, we can actually leave. Campaign content, this is where we differentiate between general and personal. It's designed to actually tell between different advertising campaigns. We use it for this application because we find it quite useful. So I might say general for our company. We're going to share this on our company Twitter account. And then we give it a campaign name. So this is something specific to the piece of content you're sharing. Can't have any spaces, but it can be any letters or numbers. So our blog was called 5 things your website should do for your customers.
That's it. Get it out there, Ryan. Well done.
So 5 things website customer. You can come up with your own naming conventions if you want to, but that's the best I can do right now. And then it's going to produce this URL for us. And we can share this on social media, and it's going to so that's our original URL up to this point, and then these extra bits have been added on, which manually tell Google Analytics that it's for Twitter, it's a social piece of traffic, it's the general account, and this is this campaign name.
Right.
If you don't like the look of that, if it's a bit big and ugly, you can use a link shortener, and that'll still work. So that leaves us with a few minutes left, Fergal, and we've rocked it through a fair bit. Might just quickly have a look at Hotjar while we've got a few minutes remaining.
Yeah, we've got 4 minutes, Ryan, but I think Hotjar, we didn't get a chance. We did do a hell of a lot on Tuesday, and we rushed through the last 20 minutes. So I thought Hotjar, particularly for people who are really driving more and more business through their website, usability just becomes so important. And this is a new tool that we've come across. It's still in beta, so it's still in testing, but even as a product that's in testing, we think it's pretty good. And it allows you to, it saves you having to look over the shoulder of people who come in to do testing in-house. You can actually record their sessions. So over to you. Let's see how it runs.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, Google Analytics, the information is sent to Analytics every time someone hits a new page. So you get a notification, we get data when they arrive at the page, and we get data when they leave the page. But what happens between those two moments is a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah. So
I think Hotjar does a really good job of telling us what happens in those in-between phases, which are really important because that's when the content is consumed.
Particularly for things, I think, like web forms and pages with web forms, where we think we've created really easy web forms, and this tool can actually show you where people maybe find things difficult or where our instructions aren't explicit enough.
So first we'll have a look at the heat maps, and this is about where people are clicking on the page, and the different colors signify how frequently they're clicked. So shall we get a feel for what are people attracted to on the page? Where are they clicking? Where are they not clicking? We can also split this up by device. So you can have a look on phones, you can have a look on tablets, you can have a look on desktops. You get a feel for how people are engaging with our mobile site. So this is a really, this is a perfect indicator of why we simplify mobile sites. They go straight for the menu, straight for contact us, search bar, people search straight away for what they're looking for. And, you want to have really clear, simple buttons because people go straight for them. The further down the page we get, the less people have scrolled. So they really just go for those first call to actions right at the top of the page.
Great.
And we can also do a heat map by scroll as well and see how people are scrolling through our pages. So this gives us a feel for how far down the page people actually get. So as you can see, we get colder and colder and colder the further down we go, which is especially true on mobile devices. Now, the other really great feature, I think, in Hotjar, which I find great for for me to review our content, is the visitor playbacks. Now, this actually records what a user is doing when they come to our website. So I'll just pick one out at chance, and really don't have much of a clue about what we'll get here until. So we'll get
for a minute or something.
We'll take this nice 3-minute one here, and I'll choose to play that. Now, I find this great for if we put out a blog. I love to see what people are actually reading, how they're engaging with that content. It might tell me on Google Analytics that someone's viewed that blog for 4 minutes, but they may have been idle on the page for 3 of those minutes.
Yeah.
So I like seeing how they engage with the content there. But from a homepage point of view as well, or from any page on your website, it's great for usability to see how the user actually engages with the window. So here we can see that users just gone still there. They may be in another tab or in another window now with this open in the background.
Might try another one there for a better example. But yeah. And
hopefully this is actually showing up okay in people's windows as we sort of hang out. Now there's this bar on the top here that has, in the busier ones, you'll see little bars of interaction there. So I can tell straight away that there's not going to be too much in that one. But see these little bars along the top here? This signifies user movements or actions on the page. We've also got some characteristics up here. So we know that this came from Australia on a Mac, and they're viewing us in Chrome. And we can see them navigate through the different pages on the website, having a look at the content. So someone's checking us out there, page by page, Ryan. And that was a quick visit, 18 seconds. It also gives you a feel for just how quickly people browse pages. They really do skim through content. So hopefully people see my mouse there. What they tend to do is come down, across, down, across, down, across, which is why subheadings and the likes are so important in our page content, because people really do scan down pages. The other thing is, and we mentioned it around testing, if you are launching a new website and you want people to look at the pages, you could put Hotjar on there, and you could then send certain pages out to some of your key clients and say, look, would you mind having a look through this website and let me know, trying to fill out this form or try and find this information, and you can actually gauge how quickly they can achieve those actions. Yep. So that's most of the things we wanted to tick off today, Fergal, even though it was very, very quick. You've only gone 160 seconds over time, Ryan, so excellent job. Anything I've missed there? I don't think so. Look, I think we want to keep things within the time frame for people. Look, I think the final thing to say is we're going to have the LinkedIn group going for the next couple of months. So by all means, we expect, I guess, that some people are going to go back in and start looking at maybe they've missed one or two webinars, or they've gone through so much in the webinars that you may have to go back and review them. By all means, ask us the questions in LinkedIn, and we'll try and get in, we'll answer those. If you learn stuff yourself as you're going through the different webinars, we'd also encourage you to put your learnings into the LinkedIn group, because Ryan and I only know so much, and there's guys like Tim, who's obviously been great on here today, and over the course of the 4 weeks with a lot of knowledge as well. So we'd encourage you all to share your knowledge and your learnings with each other. Finally, I think we just want to say thanks very much for listening to us and engaging with us over the last 4 weeks. And hopefully we'll run across some of you again in the future. Yeah, absolutely, Fergal. Been really good, and all the best to everyone as they continue working through this stuff from here on in. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Ryan. It's an exciting time. Digital's only going to increase. 4 weeks, we don't expect you to learn everything, but just get on the road step by step, and just continue to move at your own pace, but make sure that you move forward and move your business forward. And yeah, all the best. Cheers. Thank you.